Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Brighton podcast. It's your boy, Jamie G. I'm joined by that man again. Blessings, Chibamba. Bless. How are we feeling now that we've had a day to sit on that loss and we've reflected now?
Yeah, I think, again, a few positives to take out of it. Disappointing to lose again, but we have to move on. And obviously, happy Tuesday, listeners, as well.
And you didn't get bullied at work for Brighton losing again, or did you?
I mean, a few people had a few things to say, but it's a respectable loss. Like 2-1 is actually not a thrashing. And I remember speaking to you in the preview. I said that I just hope we don't lose by mistakes.
Yeah.
So I'll take that.
Yeah, and those people that probably drop the sly little digs are probably people that support Everton. You know, it could be much worse. I'm thinking of
How's Everton getting shots already? That's so random.
Just throw shots, mate. Hopefully he's listening to this pod. But
yeah, they lost on the weekend as well.
I know. Good times. But one thing I do want to bring up in this episode, and we're going to do more of a deep dive into Brighton's performance on Saturday and some of the takeaways, as we usually do on a Tuesday. Talk about what we've kind of learnt from the performance, what we kind of picked up. And the first thing I was thinking is, this is the second game in a row where we've scored first, we've led for the majority, and we've fallen short of taking all 3 points. Are we bottle jobs? Straight and simple.
I don't want to say, I wouldn't like to say we're bottle jobs, but we have been a little bit naive in terms of just managing games. Like, if we go back to Wolves, and I know a lot of people were after Matt Swiffer because of that really, really poor pass. But one thing I spotted was Estupinian, and I know I spoke about him in the last pod, and he's going to have to get some more again here. When that attack's going on, so it's obviously a 4v1. He's in left back, so he can see the bigger picture. He can see everything that's going on. He starts bombing up to try and make it a 5v1. And I'm thinking... And as soon as he does that, he realises we've lost the ball, starts running back, the ball goes over his head. And it's like, it's little things like that where it's like, just have a look. It's 4v1. You do not need to run up and like bomb forward. There's 2 minutes left? Like, just stay in your position. Let's see it out. So, just signs of being naive, I think.
My guy was ready to celebrate. You got to think about that, Bless. He was thinking, I've got to be there for the celebration. And when we win, this is going to be a spectacular moment because it'll be 3-1, the nail in the coffin. I'm there with my boys. And little did he know, Matt Swiffer, terrible pass back. Terrible pass to that Tommy Doyle bloke.
I'll be honest, if I ever spoke to him and he said, yeah, I was just trying to get up there to go celebrate, I think I'd probably just be like, yeah, fair enough, mate.
Yeah, fair enough. That just really sums up the youth in the team. They're there for the celebrations, not for the actual football.
Nah.
But yeah, I don't think we are. I agree. I don't think we're bottle jobs, although I have seen the Twitterverse, you know, some people have, I need to get off that because some people have been dropping that word, Brighton, the bottle jobs, bottlers Brighton. I'm not enjoying it because I don't believe it. If you think we're bottle jobs, we have also done the opposite where we've snatched the win off Tottenham. So it goes the other way around, you know. Maybe it's karma. Maybe God has spoken to us and is taking some results off us for giving us a result against Tottenham.
If only that's how the Premier League works, but I really don't think it works like that, mate.
But yeah, I think there is, like you say, a lot of naivety in the squad. It feels like it's a struggle to kind of hang on to a lead or like even Nottingham Forest game, like we were very much on top of that, and it's just like I think it's lapses in judgment or lapses in concentration that have cost us a couple goals this season, where we didn't really need to have a goal be conceded against us, and that's I think we've heard from all of our podcasts where we've spoken about in the post match how it's these bad moments that have ended up in goals.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you. I think it's just a case of needing to be a little bit more consistent because again they have proven they can do it. Newcastle away, which is a tough fixture. Arsenal was just gone there and lost. Like we went
Mm.
there 1-1-0, had to defend really well, and they can do it. Do you know what I mean? But it's a case of just laxing judgment needs to be pushed out and try and be a little bit more consistent and manage games a little bit better. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I think that actually brings me up to something Hertzler said in the last post match interview. That was against Wolves when we did bottle that bottle that win, because that's all you can call that. That was a bottle
All
job.
right,
I
that one
will
was a
admit
bottle
that one.
job. Yeah, okay.
This one against Liverpool was not one, but it was. He mentioned the youthfulness kind of costing us, and the inexperience of the players not being able to see out a game, and that's what the issue was. And that's where if he can start stamping some of those things out, and I think the more the season goes on, the less we'll hopefully see these moments where little lapses do cost us, or little bad decisions cost us goals.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I think based on what we saw against Liverpool as well, there were elements of the game where I thought that they are controlling the game and actually controlling the occasion, but except from obviously that gap between the first goal and the second goal,
Mm,
that was a bit of a mess. But other than that, I thought they they controlled the game and did the right things in the right moments. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, that gap can cost you against a quality team.
yeah, that's a good point, because I think it was that those 5 minutes. That's all it was really. That lost us the game was 5 minutes where perhaps naivety, like you say, it was the problem. And but throughout, we defended very well in that second half. I don't want that to be not shone a light on in this or in our recap of the game, because I thought although we did very much sit off in that second half, I thought for the first 20 minutes or first 20 minutes of the half, we defended very well. And it was kind of just a lucky goal that went in, and then some bad play by Estepinian that kind of cost us. But yeah, so to everyone on Twitter calling Brighton bottle jobs, we aren't, and we take that offensively. And we will prove that we aren't against Man City when we go there and batter them. And on that note, time for an ad. Join us after the break to hear why we're so good at playing out from the back now. You know,
This
one of the
podcast is part
highlights.
of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts the fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. Global Sports Podcast Network, every club, every day.
And we are back with the Daily Brighton podcast. I'm here with Blessings Chibamba, and this is there's no better person to ask these kind of questions, because he is a tactico. He's a genius of football, you know. He's a coach of a school team. He does one-on-one coaching. So, Bless, my question to you is, we were so great from playing out from the back, which is leaps and bounds better than what we've been in other performances. What was the difference yesterday?
Um, I think it's mainly just down to confidence, really. If players are confident and they are shown for it, and when they receive it, they're confident enough to try and do a risky pass, but the correct pass, then it normally works. One major thing, and I spoke about it in yesterday's podcast as well. One major thing I saw was how comfortable Verbruggen was in goal, and that really just epitomises and calmed the sort of performance and calmed everyone down. Because when you have a keeper who's moving a bit scatty in goal, trying to play out from the back, it's so difficult. So yeah, that really calmed everyone down, and it was good to see.
Yeah, the thing from speaking to you and hearing your expertise in this field for the last couple of podcasts, I think we're now up to number 50. So congrats on that.
Oh, the
Is
big 5-0.
I think we've reached the big 5-0, you know. So I think one of the things I noticed yesterday is the movement off the ball is what I was kind of impressed at, and that's where we highlighted Jack Hincherwood and Ayari in yesterday's pod of them being very comfortable receiving the ball. But I think it was also them being comfortable and finding the space to pick up the ball in those areas where the press was gonna vacate or the presser was gonna vacate to then attack the ball. They ran in behind that. So I think for the Jorginho Ruta one-on-one chance, that's a great example where Van Hecke has three men running on him, and it's Ayari that plays the pass to him initially, and then he makes the passer move like you get taught at 8 years old or whatever it is. The passer move. He plays the pass to Van Hecke, then moves behind the guy that's about to press Van Hecke, and then the pass goes straight through both. And then that's when he's got those acres of space to pick it up, take a touch, look up, and then find the amazing pass to Ruta. And there were so many times of that actually happening yesterday, or Saturday's performance. Just because Hincherwood was also doing it, and then there was also a bit more freedom with Kadioglu dropping in. I think that's where it also helped with him maybe not having a Minter there who's looking to run in behind all the time. Having a Kadioglu, who I was actually surprised to see start at right mid, but he was dropping in to support Veltman and be the extra man to break the press. That's some of the points I saw and highlighted as what I was really impressed by.
Yeah, it's really interesting you mentioned Kadioglu, because I thought his role was he had so many different roles in that game depending on what's going on, and and helping out and build up was one of them as well, which was good to see. And yeah, and you're totally right, you wouldn't see Minte doing that. So I thought Kadioglu was excellent, and he's playing that role, and it's a weird role because it's not an out and out winger position, but he essentially senses what's going on in the game and adds to it in the way Hertzler's obviously been coaching them. So yeah, that was a really good performance, a good watch for him.
Yeah, and what actually, yeah, this because we've played 4-4-2 the last two games now. Maybe yeah, I think last two, maybe three, if I'm not wrong. But do you think this is also, which is such a Barclays Premier League kind of formation, we kind of doing it in a different kind of way where it's more of a 4-4-1-1. But it's still quite different to see only having two midfielders, centre mids play, and not really much support for them. Do you think that's catching teams out? Because I think Arne Slot said after the game that he liked the way we set up and that was difficult for them to get their heads around, which obviously looked like it in terms of the way they struggled in the first half.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you like most teams, when they're out of possession, they defend in the 4-4-2, and I think it's just because it covers most of the areas of the pitch, especially if you're dropping back a little bit. But the way Brighton do it is quite interesting because they've got Ruta and Welbeck who work so hard to get right back behind the ball. So essentially, they're quite close to the centre mids, and in possession, it might even feel like they've got like a box midfield, and there's four midfielders, and then the wingers are still really wide and high. So I think Hertzer goes with that, and if it might be his preferred one for this side because there's so many different things within that formation you can actually do. So, like for example, Kadioglu can come inside and help in midfield,
Yeah.
whilst you've got Matoma, who was really wide and looking to hurt them in behind. So it gives him so many different options. So it looks really good, to be honest.
Yeah, I was shocked when I first saw 4-4-2 when we played it the first time, and I was thinking, is this going to work, or are we going to be kind of picked apart by playing this? Because no one ever plays it anymore. And I think, like you say, with Ruta being such a workhorse, that's why it works as well in terms of a defensive outlook, because he's always there to support whoever. So if you go to press, he will be there. Like if the ball goes out to the right hand side, or if Ayari is trying to press a man, then you can rely on the backup of Ruta being there. Or if Veltman needs cover or help, then Ruta seems to always just pop up, and he's that annoying little guy that just won't leave you alone. He's the Jamie Guerra of Premier League football. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, no, that's it. And I think as well, I've not really mentioned my guy yet, but I'm gonna have to mention him now. Honourable shout out to Big Danny Welbeck. But he's been dropping in a bit deeper as well. And one thing I've noticed is his range of passing is actually decent. Like he gets it, and he's quite comfortable in possession. I know in the last couple of weeks we've been speaking about how strong he is, but also just in possession, like there's moments where he would secure it, and then play it out, play a simple ball, keep us ticking. And he's up against some big guys like Kanate is an absolute giant of a man, and Danny Welbeck, no problem, off the chest, play it out.
That's a great point, because I was actually thinking then while you were speaking, there was a number of times in yesterday's game where Danny Welbeck dropped off so deep. Like this was like on the edge of our D, like not the box D, but like the halfway line D, the semicircle, whatever you want to call it. He's dropped to that point, and he's like held it up, and then just knocks it on to an on-running Mitoma. I think it was both times in that game on Saturday, and that's also seems to be really helping us play out from the back. Like you can bypass the midfield with bypass their press with our midfielders if Ayari and Hincherwood keep finding those spaces. But you can also go a bit even longer and go straight to Danny Welbeck, who's able to hold it up and then knock it to someone and play like a quick 1-2, 1-2-3s, 1-2s, and play those little triangles to try and get us up the pitch. Yeah, it is really. We say this every time we do the crossover pods. Brighton are just such a fun team to watch.
Yeah,
It's a good time to be a fan at the moment. Win, lose, or draw.
yeah, 100%. I'd agree with that. And just the last one on your point as well, because I was thinking we've got to shout out Matoma as well, because I always think it's all well and good to be able to play out the back and and beat the press, and then obviously having Danny Welbeck to link it up and make it happen. But you need a player who's decisive in 1v1 situations, and everyone in the Premier League knows that. So it's like as soon as that press is broken, we're looking at Matoma now, because if he
Yeah,
gets you one-on-one, he's quality in crossing. I know he hasn't scored much this season, but even his finishing is really good. So yeah, that's always something the opponent has to think about, and that gives us even more space, because as soon as that press has been beat, it's gone to Dan Welbeck. They're dropping, so we can
yeah,
control the
yeah,
game
yeah.
a bit better from that.
Yeah, and that's basically how we scored our goal, isn't it? Is the once we did beat that press with a pass into Kadioglu, he looked straight out wide to where's Matoma? Is he in space? And Matoma's always in space and never afraid to run straight at them to get some sort of end product. And the end product is always there, whether it's a cross or whether it's a shot. And that is the beauty of Matoma. Like you say, the outlet is him being there and giving us that space to run up the pitch as well, and not just sit deep. But yeah, perfect. We are going to talk about our strength and depth in midfield, because we mentioned yesterday's pod, Ayari and Hincherwood were the standout players for us, but there's way more centre mids that we've got in the fold.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
And we are back with the Daily Brighton podcast. We've got a little introduction of Joe there as well. So, hello, Joe. Thank you for welcoming us, or joining us on this pod. We are going to talk about Ayari and Hincherwood, the standout players from yesterday. I guess we'll start off, Bless, with what did you like most about their performance?
I think when I looked at it, I thought these boys are out their depth against Szoboszlai, McAllister, and who's the other one?
Gravenberch.
I thought these boys are way out their depth. But I thought after watching it, I thought they were excellent. I think the movement off the ball was brilliant. They were brave enough to come and get it. They had to work so hard as well to press and support. Like if you're pressing in a 4-4-2, the centre midfielders need to be able to run and actually get up and down. So it's really impressive performance. And I thought we've spoken a lot about Jack Hincherwood. I thought he was so good and really showed sort of his skill set in midfield, which we haven't seen. And it's just having that composure, receiving it on a half turn, getting everyone playing. They were excellent.
You spoke about how good they were on the ball. The thing I want to touch on as well is how good they were defensively, because there were so many times when Liverpool tried breaking in that first half, and Hincherwood was there to get into the nitty gritty and tackle them and completely stop the play. So I think a minute before the goal, that's how we got the ball back, was Hincherwood winning it back. And then Ayari did the same in terms of just intercepting every pass until the goals finally went in. But he was intercepting so much. I actually should get up the stats of how many interceptions and things they had. I won't have time now, but if someone could find that up and leave us a comment down below of how many interceptions and blocks and Ayari and Hincherwood had, that'd be so good. Because just from the eye, it looked like their defensive performance was top tier, especially in that first half. Were you surprised to not see Belieber in the starting lineup?
Yeah, I personally I was very surprised because I see Ayari as an attacking midfielder. So I was like, how is he gonna, be able to just anchor the midfield with another youngster next to him? I thought that Belieber, being the guy he is in terms of his just aggression and being a player that's up for the fight, really, I thought he'd really suit the game, but you got to trust Hertzler. He saw it differently.
Yeah, I've got to say, I felt the exact same. When I found out Belieber, when I looked at lineup, and you mentioned it on yesterday's pod, I messaged in the chat saying, Hincherwood and Ayari, this could be a bloodbath. No Belieber, what's he doing? I was debating whether he still wanted his job or not, because he's left out Belieber, who I think has been our best player for this season. I'm actually just gonna him and Van Hecker and Welbeck obviously have been our best players this season. And I was so surprised to see him left out. And I've got to look on reflection. I've got to take my hat off to Hertzler for having the confidence and having the belief in the young players, Yari and Hincherwood, who I think are both 20. Maturity beyond their years, yesterday's performance, and he must have seen that in training and gone, you know what, I can trust these guys to do a job and play with the intensity I need them to get a result against Liverpool.
Yeah, I've got a question for you then. Like, why do you think so? Belieber's been in good form. Why do you think he'll drop him out for those two?
Yeah, good question. I can see. Obviously, he wanted to play Ruta because just to give us the goal threat. So that was no question he's playing. And then I think he must have seen something in the Wolves performance where Ayari started and thought, oh, I'm going to go with him again. he must have really impressed him in that performance against Wolves to think, I'll start him for a second week. He did a great job there. And Hincherwood coming back in, that was the surprise to me because I don't think he didn't start against Wolves. I think it was Ayari and Belieber. But to put him back in was maybe showing the faith or potentially showing the competitiveness of the Premier League, maybe. Like, this is Hincherwood, obviously, is an English guy, probably grown up watching Liverpool, knows what they've been like for however many years now, and knows the intensity that they play with. Maybe Belieber wouldn't have known that, but yeah, I can't really think why he would have been left out, other
Yeah.
than there was trust there. What do you think?
Well,
Or you
I'm just
lines
thinking
with me?
it's a tricky one to pinpoint because if you look at it on the bench, there's Matt Swiffer and Belieber. You'd have thought against Liverpool that's a more of a
Mm,
solid sort of anchor in midfield, but
yeah,
I feel like he's gone for the midfielders who are the most comfortable on the ball. And I know we've said Belieber's excellent on the
yeah,
ball, but also he does take a risk. And I think,
yeah.
yeah, I just think he's gone for midfielders who are just going to be, much more confident on the ball. Matt Swiffer's confidence, I don't know where that's gone after what happened last weekend.
I
So
can
it's
tell you
like,
where that's gone. Living in Wolves, mate. That's where his confidence gone.
yeah, I think it might have been that, but yeah, it's hard to say, and it's a strange one to leave the Wiffer and Belieber out.
Yeah, I would have. I was also going to say that I think although Belieber can run for days, but he's not got the short burst of pace that I think Ayari who and Hincherwood, who are both a fair bit shorter than Belieber, probably needs. And maybe he saw that Belieber could get into foul trouble quite early and start being rash in tackles. And like we have seen before against Tottenham, let's say, where he's given up the pen. No, not Tottenham. Who did he give up the pen to? Whatever team, Nottingham Forest?
Forest, yeah.
Was it Forest? Yeah. And then the week after that. So yeah, maybe he's seen there are elements of Belieber being rash, and against quality like Liverpool, you can't really afford to have players that are rash on the field. That's the only thing my only explanation. But I was still shocked to see it, and I do still hope he plays next week. But then also, how do you drop Hincherwood and Ayari now? After that, how do you drop them?
Yeah, but it's City. Like we need a different plan than that against City. I
Yeah.
think away as well.
Play 5 midfielders, just
Yeah,
sit deep, and that's how we'll beat them. Um,
yeah,
and then I touched on at the beginning of this segment the strength and depth in our midfield. You mentioned Matt Swiffer on the bench, our big money player. He's not had the greatest of starts to his Brighton career. I am still optimistic that he'll turn his fortunes around, but we do also have Matt O'Reilly coming back, and it'll be good to actually see him, if hopefully the injury hasn't affected him too much, get to the levels we saw at Celtic.
yeah. I think this one is one I'm really concerned about because Matt Swift has struggled to settle down and actually consolidate a place in this team. And I know he's been um, injured a couple of times, but overall, when we've seen him, I've not been that impressed. It doesn't look like the player, we were so
We
buzzing
were
to
hoping
get
for.
in the player we've seen at his previous club. And with Matt O'Reilly, I think there's quality there. And I think he could come in and just sort of take that spot quite
Mm,
easily. So it'd be good to, we want to see our players do well. I want to see him pick up some form. But with O'Reilly coming back, I know he played for Celtic, but sort of, quite easier to settle down
yeah.
in Brighton than how Whiffer's finding it. If he settles down quickly and picks up some form, then it's going to be tough for Whiffer to get in.
Yeah, would you say Whiffers our fifth option centre midfield in your opinion then?
Um, it's
How
harsh,
would
but
you rank these?
I don't know how I'd rank them to be honest. But I'll go as far as say he's not in our best 11. Um,
Yeah.
I think you can tell he's struggling a little bit, and I think he needs a bit more time to just continue gelling into the team. And I wonder what his best partner would be as well. It might be O'Reilly. But
Yeah.
we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. That's actually a point that I was also thinking when um, when I did see Wiffer on the bench, or when I was thinking about this question, I was thinking, like, who complements Matt Swiffer the most? And because it is difficult to say. Like, you don't really know. We haven't really seen the true Matt Swiffer to know what kind of a player he is, or like what level of a player he is
Mm.
probably a better way. So we can say what kind of a player he was at PSV, but we've not seen that really at all. Whether he's going to be a great six, whether he's going to be more of a roaming playmaking type, or whether he's just going to be someone that keeps the ball going. Like, I don't really know in this Brighton team,
Mm.
or when he's played, what he is. And yeah, like you say, I think when O'Reilly comes back, I think if he does hit the ground running, and if Hertzler starts liking what he's seeing, I think Matt Swiffer, based on just how he's performed so far, he could find himself down the pecking order, sadly.
Yeah, and I think with what we know about Matt Swiffer, I think he's more of like he's a six, a defensive six,
Mm. But
and
is he strong enough to be a six? Because I don't think. I don't know whether he's strong enough to be a six, like in terms of just like physical, or whether he's good enough on the ball, which is a crazy thing to say because at
mm,
PSV or Feyenoord, whoever he was at, he was unbelievable on the ball, and he was like could play out from the back very comfortably. Whereas I've seen him lose the ball so many times and do so many stray passes, not
mm.
including the Tommy Doyle one, but that one especially. But yeah, he worries me on the ball.
Yeah, that adds on to my point as well, because I was going to say that at Feyenoord, the tackling we saw from him, I remember speaking
Mm.
on the podcast saying about, centre midfielders with really long legs who are aggressive is what we need in that team, in that midfield. And we've just not seen that. I wanted him to be a little bit more aggressive, but that generally just might be down to the quality of the league, because there is a
Yeah,
big gulf between the Premier League and the Dutch Eredivisie.
Eredivisie,
So
yeah.
he might not be as good as we might have thought.
That's our opinion right now. Hopefully, he changes our
Yeah, he
opinion
can change
later
it.
on down
Yeah.
the line. Which that's not looking good. That us saying that is not looking good for Matt O'Reilly, who played in an even worse division in Scotland. Come at me, Scottish people. But that's what I think. Your league sucks. But yeah, hopefully Matt O'Reilly, Matt Swiffer can
Random shots at random people.
just trying to get us cancelled.
Oh no.
And on that note, it's been a lovely conversation with you, Bless. We've spoke about many things. We have covered a lot of topics in there, and we hope our listeners have enjoyed. Leave us some comments on what you think of our thoughts on the game, but also, can you rank our midfield in the comments of this pod? We'll leave that to you guys. Thank you very much for listening. I've been Jamie G. That's been Blessings Chabamba. See you next time.
Thanks for listening.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.